I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to show you how to make some bacon-wrapped potato wedges that we're going to dip into some Queso Blanco. I'm so excited. This is a great recipe to make for if you have an upcoming holiday party or like even a smaller gathering. Is fabulous. I got the idea of this from like an older cookbook that I saw, a Christmas cookbook, and I was like, oh, I can definitely do that with my homemade Queso Blanco dip. That is just phenomenal. So I'm thrilled to share it with you. Let's work on the potatoes first. What I have here are a few russet potatoes. I'm not even peeling them. I did scrub them really well. Depending on the size, you're going to cut each one into either 8 or 6 pieces. This is a little bit smaller. If you have any bits that is just not perfect, you can just cut that off. Sometimes that happens to taters, but you just cut those off. Depending on the size, you're going to cut them each potato into 6 wedges or into 8 wedges. You can see these are a little bit on the smaller side, so I'm going to do 6 wedge per potato because I don't want to make them too thin or they just won't hold up and they'll kind of get too soft. You can also cut them smaller if you want to. You can also make this recipe with some veggies if you want to. If you don't want to do potatoes, you can maybe do some Brussels sprouts or just have to have a bit of a different method to cooking them because they don't need to be partially cooked ahead of time. So I'm just going to cut my potato wedges. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plunge them in a pot with water. I'm going to bring it to a simmer, and once it comes up to a boil, I'm going to let those cook for about 2 minutes, and then I'm going to let them drain on a paper towel lined baking pan so that they dry out really nicely, and then we proceed. Alright, so once my potatoes came to a boil, I let them just boil for 2 minutes exactly. Then I drained them really well in a colander, and then I placed them on a paper towel lined baking sheet until they cool a little bit, and you can see they're really dry, and that is what I want. Now, they're not fully cooked through yet, but they're just starting to cook, so that's what I want. I'm going to add them all to a large bowl. What I have here is some bacon that I have just cut. I've cut the slices into thirds because I don't want a whole slice per potato or even half because I just think that that's too much bacon. I know, but I do think that there can be such a thing as too much bacon. Otherwise, it kind of overpower the queso. And we all know how I feel about queso. To my potatoes, I'm going to add some dried parsley and some garlic, along with a good pinch of salt and some pepper and a drizzle of olive oil. And I'm just going to toss all of them together because I want the potatoes to be really flavorful before we wrap them into the bacon. This is a fantastic recipe for a party. You can do the potatoes along with like crostini or like chunks of bread or whatever just to dunk into the queso, or some veggies if you want to. Fabulous. I love get-togethers around this time of year, and particularly love smaller get-togethers because I feel like you can really mingle with your friends and family if your gathering is a little bit smaller, and that way you can have a bunch of them instead of one big one and feeling slightly overwhelmed. So this would be a great one. Even if it's like a game night or something, put the dip in a crock pot on medium, keeping it warm and ooey and delicious. Yeah, that's the life, my friend. All right. I've got my oven preheated to 425. I've got a baking sheet lined with some parchment paper, and this is all you do. You take a piece of potato and a little piece of bacon. I just do the center just like that because I just like the way that looks, and you place them sort of seam side down, and that's it. And I'm just gonna continue to rock on my potatoes. All of my potatoes are wrapped. You can see I put these 2 right on top just because I didn't want to get another baking sheet out. I'm going to pop them into the oven about 20 minutes or so. Keep an eye on them. If you feel like the bacon's cooking way too fast, then lower the temperature. And then in the meantime, we're going to make our queso, which is very easy and simple, perfect for dipping, and you are going to love it. All right, as the potatoes finish in the oven, we are going to make the Queso Blanco, which is so easy, but the best you'll ever have. You need some half and half, which I'm going to place in a saucepan. This is the same saucepan that I boiled my potatoes in. Just give it a quick rinse. Don't need to wash it out thoroughly. It's fine. That needs to come to a simmer. What else you have to have ready is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of American cheese. What works best, and this is really strange, but it just works really well, is to go to your deli and get them to slice good American cheese, and then you stack the slices and you cut them into cubes. For some reason, this melts fantastic. And then you need a can of just mild green chilies, and you need some dried oregano, cumin, salt, and pepper. That's all you're gonna need. If you want to, you have the option of topping it with like a pico or like broiling it in the oven like I did in my original Queso Blanco dip that's totally dedicated to just this alone without the potatoes. I'm not going to do that only because I don't want anything else to kind of compete with the bacon and the potatoes and the onion and the garlic that's been on the potatoes. So I'm going to leave it as is and just sprinkle it with a little bit of paprika on top and a little dried parsley, and it's going to be perfect for dipping. Once this comes to a simmer, I'm going to start adding my American cheese a little bit at a time and just whisk until it melts completely. You just want to add a little bit at a time, and you just whisk and whisk and whisk until all of the cheese melts. All right, all the cheese is melted, texture is fantastic. We're going to add the chilies at this point, and then we're gonna add also the cumin and the oregano, along with, oh, it smells so good. Whoa, it smells so delicious, along with some salt and some pepper. And now all I'm going to do at this point is place this into my serving bowl. If I were to be serving this at a party tonight, which I'm not, I don't have a party going on tonight, unless you want to come over and we can have a party. I would put this in a small crock pot, like a small crock pot of some sort, and just keep it on warm. That way that everything just stays melted and it is fabulous. Or you can just keep it on your hob, on your stove, and then just kind of keep reheating it as the night goes on. I'm gonna pop this into a bowl, get my potatoes out, and give it a taste. Sprinkle my potatoes and my cheese with a little bit of dried parsley. I mean, look at that. If you've got a holiday get-together, a movie night, your friends coming over, I don't really care. This needs to be in your life somehow. Oh my goodness. Oh, it is the most wonderful time of the year. It just is. Hot. Listen, I'm just gonna double dip because there's nobody else here today, so nobody can judge me. But this has got to be on the menu of some sort at some time soon because it is so good. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hot though. So good. Really hot, but so worth it. LauraInTheKitchen.com has you covered with a recipe. Run to get it, make it. I hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you next time. Bye. It fooled me. It's on the other side.